Hello Algebra 2, once again here I am to give you another video on solving and evaluating. In this video we are primarily going to focus on just evaluating and what that means. So if you notice here, you're going to see typical problems like this. Evaluate, what this is saying is evaluate f of 3 when f of x equals x squared plus 4. Now this right here, when you see f of 3 right there, this is telling you that this is your input. This is your input. That means that we're going to plug in 3 into our function. So if we look over here and we get started right away, we plug in, so we're going to plug in 3. So we want to find out what is our output, what is our y value essentially when we plug in 3, f of 3. So here's this function, so here's x. So we're going to, since 3 is our input, we're going to plug that in wherever we see an x. And actually, I'm just going to use a different color to kind of help accentuate that. So 3, and then we'll go ahead. Okay, so f of 3 equals, and now we're going to plug in 3 wherever we see an x in our function here. Well, I see it only with the x squared, so we're going to go ahead and plug in 3. And when we plug in 3 into here, I'm going to go ahead and square it, and then finally plus 4. Okay, so whenever we see this input 3, that's where we plug it in for x, which we did. F of 3 equals 3 squared plus 4. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and complete this through, and I'm just going to bring it down. What's 3 squared? 3 squared is the exact same thing as 3 times 3, which is just 9. So I'll go ahead and put 9 here, plus 4. What's 9 plus 4? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So f of 3 equals 14. And that's it. We've officially solved this problem. We just needed to evaluate what the input and output was. So our input is 3 and our output is 14. Okay, I hope that's a quick video on what it means to evaluate. We're always just plugging in whatever number we have into x. Now maybe to kind of show you a more complex way of going about this that I will show eventually in classes. What if I told you, I want you to find f of x plus 2, okay, oh, that should be a w, when f of z equals z squared plus 2. Okay, now if you notice here, this looks a lot more trickier because instead of before we had a number, we had f of 3, now we have f of x plus 2. We have to keep in mind that this entire thing right here is still, it's a horrible arrow, but that is still our input. That is where we're going to plug in to our function. So if we go ahead and do that, alright, so let's go ahead and do f of, I'm going to go ahead and color coded it one more time for you, x plus 2. Okay, we're going to put that there. And then wherever we see, in this case it's z, it's f of z equals z squared plus 2. So wherever we see a z, that's where we're going to plug in. We're going to plug in x plus 2 wherever that's a z into here. Well, it's only right there. So doing that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to plug that in. It's this entire thing that we plug in for z, x plus 2. Okay, I'm going to close the parentheses. I'm going to put my square on top, and then I'm going to do plus 2. Alright, now this is equal to, well, remember right up here, 3 squared is the same thing as 3 times 3, which is 9. Well, this is the same thing then as x plus 2 times x plus 2. It's just basically multiplying itself by 2. That's what that square means. And we have this plus 2. There we go. And now what we essentially need to do is use the distributive property. We're going to have to take this x and multiply it by this x here, and we're going to get x squared. Okay, and then we're going to take this x and multiply it by the 2, and we're going to get plus 2x. x times 2 is just 2x. Okay, now we're going to take this 2 and multiply it by x using the distributive property, and we get 2x. And finally, we take this 2 and multiply it by the 2 out here, and that's going to give us plus 4. And then we still have this plus 2 out here, so we're going to do plus 2. We simplify this and combine like terms. I only see one x squared from this whole thing, so x squared stays here, plus, and if I look here, we have 2x plus 2x. Okay, they're like terms, so I'm going to combine those. 2x plus 2x, well, that's just 4x. And then plus, finally, 4 plus 2, combining like terms, and that gives us this. So our final solution, f of x plus 2, this is just x squared plus 4x plus 6. We get an entirely new function, but that's okay. This is what it means when we're dealing with function notation. We're just plugging in whatever that is inside our parentheses here, f of x plus 2, and we plug that straight into our function wherever we see, in this case it's a z, so we plug it in wherever we see a z, and that's just right here, which I showed you. F of x plus 2 equals x plus 2 squared plus 2. Distributive property, solve that out, and that's how we got that there.